Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7-mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Ayrton Senna lines up on pole position and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Russell, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Sainz, Tsunoda, Perez, Stroll, Verstappen, Joker, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, Théo Pourchaire, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Zhou, Sargent, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. And let's talk momentum with this driver. What a sprint it was. They start at 0 once again for today, but with a huge amount of confidence, surely. Well, they'll definitely be glad that there's not a sprint race today. Let's face it, the sprint couldn't have gone much worse, but what we're looking for today is a reaction. Now, I'll be generous here. It's not that long ago that you were racing and entertaining us on a Sunday, but in the years since, the sport has changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, Crofty. You know, the cars have got bigger, they're heavier, but critically, there's more downforce to play with as well now. There was around 4 tons of downforce on the car at 300 kilometres an hour when I drove. You're now looking more towards 5 tons of downforce. So there's a big difference in.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down. Okay, we're monitoring some wear on the internal combustion engine. Be aware that we're going to start to see a loss of power. DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone. Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place. Look out for a bit of understeer when trailing the car ahead. They're going to be giving off dirty air, which is going to affect our tyres, so try to get past. pace is strong, but be aware these tyres need to go the distance. Right, the gap to the teammate ahead of us, 10.1 seconds. Okay, gap ahead, 3.9 seconds. Okay, some information on Piastri. They've got some kind of mechanical problem. Okay, this is your final lap of the race. All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Well, that's an end to the sprint action. Next up, we'll set the grid for the Grand Prix. So we'll see you next time.